Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Championship Prediction League. You can see that I've got a big smile on my face this afternoon because I've hit the 100-point mark, Ollie. Is that worthy of a round
Yeah.
of applause? No? No? Maybe I can give us... Hang on.
There you go.
Round of applause. 100-point mark, 6 points at the weekend, which was actually the worst score of the three of us. Ollie, you got 8 points, taking you to 76. Gab, 11 points. Leapfrogging you, I think, or going up to 83 points. He's in second place. Got a bit of a gap, but you boys are closing in, and we've got a midweek round of fixtures to preview. There's some real crackers in here. Get your score predictions in the comments down below. Like and subscribe while you're there. Remember, it's 5 points and 5 bonus points if you correctly predict a correct score with 5 goals or more. It's 3 points if you get a correct score, and it's 1 point if you get the correct match result. Right, Ollie, I'm going straight to you. West Brom, Norwich. Where do you go here?
Yeah, really tricky game to call. And it's one of those where, I'm looking at those scores for the season so far, and I have got to learn some lessons, I think. I keep getting against different teams. I'm not able to get a full read on some of the teams in the Championship, but I feel as though I've got a good read on Norwich. We know that they are on an upward trajectory right now. The last few weeks, shall we say, under Philippe Clement has been really impressive. We're seeing a team who just looks so much more rounded. Is it Mabama? Mikama up front, who looks fantastic. Is it 9 goals in his last 8 games?
Yes.
Really is standing out as one of the standout players in the division. And it's made that decision for Clement so much easier in just getting rid of Josh Sargent, because they know they've got a big centre forward that they can rely on for all the goals to really stand out and drag them through games. West Brom, I have no idea what to predict from West Brom. I still don't, having seen obviously the first game under the new manager, Eric Ramsey, because to me, they seem like a team who have a really terrible 45 minutes and a really brilliant 45 minutes. Who knows what order that's going to go in? Who knows whether or not one's going to outweigh the other? Generally speaking, if they're 2-0 down at half-time, I'll probably back them to finish 2-2. If they're 2-0 up at half-time, still going to back them to finish 2-2. And so that feels like a safe bet. I'm going to go West Brom 2, Norwich 2.
Oh, a draw. Mabama, by the way, is the Stoke striker who's broken his leg. Makama is the Norwich one who can't stop scoring, and I get them confused just as much as you do. I'm going to back Norwich still. I think I've seen enough from them. I think the away win at Wrexham was massive. I think they don't miss Sargent right now. I think Clement's dealt with him incredibly well. I think they're getting everything right, and obviously the fans have taken to him very nicely indeed. So I'm going to back Norwich to get another win here. I'm actually going to go for a 2-1 away win, giving Norwich a win. Charlton derby. Ollie, your Blades were on the wrong side of a Charlton Nathan Jones, maybe not a masterclass, but a defeat this weekend. Derby beating Preston away, and I really can't call this one. I'm so on the fence. I think the sensible thing to do is back a draw. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 because Charlton, very good at the Valley, very tough to beat. Derby, very impressive victory at Deepdale. Not many teams have gone there and won this season. But I can't see either side winning, so very, very safe. 1-1. How about you, mate?
Yeah, really tricky game to try and call. I've read more into Derby's performance and their victory at Preston than I have into Charlton's, in all honesty. Obviously, massive mitigating circumstances with them against United at the weekend. I thought 11v11, they were completely outclassed. I think the stats speak for themselves in that first half. And Charlton, rode their luck in terms of the decisions and everything else that's gone on in that game. And so I'm putting
He's not bitter, don't worry, guys. He's not bitter. He's fine. He's over it. It's Monday evening.
Would I be bitter? I'm so over it. But yeah, I'm going to back Derby. I think that was such an impressive result. I just did not see them getting anything at all away at Preston. I think to go there, pick up a victory, I just think there's a lot behind that. I think they've had a really good season so far. Maybe it's going a little bit under the radar because they've been very peaks and then very troughs. But if they can get on a run, there's no reason they can't really cement themselves in that kind of upper mid-table section. And so I'm going to back a Derby 1-0 because, like I say, while it was 11v11, I didn't think Charlton were all that impressive on Saturday.
Very interesting indeed. Ipswich, Bristol City up next. And I think if you're like me, you're probably backing an Ipswich win. Am I correct?
Absolutely, you're correct. I know we talked to Ben Bloom earlier, didn't we? And he just kept saying, yeah, just a bit of a throwaway victory. I was like, oh, yeah, just that easy 3-0 at home. Yeah, all right, mate.
Top of the form table, Ipswich are, by the way. 5 wins out of 6 in all competitions. Look to have clicked. Bristol City, yeah, I'm not sure. Drew 0-0, didn't they, at the weekend at Oxford, new manager and all of that. But yeah, I'm definitely backing Ipswich. I think they're rocking and rolling right now. I'll go for a 2-0 home win. How about you?
I was really close to trying to get the big 5-pointer in this one. I
Really?
couldn't figure out whether I thought this was a 4-1, a 3-2, because I do feel as though Ipswich at home, they are likely to go goal crazy. You know, they got 3 at the weekend without really getting out of first gear. If they turn in and put in a proper performance, they could go on and go a little bit mental. For Bristol City, it's an interesting one. They feel like a team who would just keep in ticking over. I have been really impressed, actually, with what Struber's done for them. It's just not quite worked, obviously, as well in this sort of last few weeks as it had right at the start of the season. I'm not going to go for the extra bonus points. I'm going to go 3-1 to Ipswich.
Okay, interesting stuff indeed. They are the team to watch right now, aren't they? Oxford versus QPR. Matt Bloomfield, 0-0 draw, as I said, at home with Bristol City on his kind of managerial debut at the club. I don't know. I don't know about QPR right now, Ollie. There's question marks there for me. They're not consistent enough. I think they've only beaten Sheffield Wednesday in their last 6 outings, maybe in the league. So I think I'm going to back an Oxford win. I feel like Bloomfield will get a couple of good results. I don't think he's going to keep them up, but I feel there will be good results probably coming at home. And I'm earmarking this one as one of them. So I'm going to back them to nick it 1-0. Oxford 1, QPR 0.
I like it, to be honest. And I've flip-flopped, if I'm being honest, in terms of where I'm going to land on this. QPR haven't got a victory away from home since I think it's the 26th of November when they went to Blackburn. They are on a really poor run of form. Obviously, away from home, they've really been struggling. But have I seen enough to get behind this Oxford team and back them for a victory? I do think that they will pick up results. I think they'll get some scalps, but I think they're more likely to go and get points off some of the big boys than I do with this sort of middle group. I think it's the games where they're really going to be up for it, backs to the wall. They're going to fight their way through to get points in those. And so I'm going to back a 0-0 here. I think this is probably the game of the weekend to avoid if you want drama and excitement.
Or if you're trying to pick a team for an ACCA, maybe avoid this one as well. I'd probably recommend. Very difficult to call. Coventry Millwall on Tuesday night, my word. This game's massive as well. We've just come out the back of a massive win over Leicester, coming from behind, beating them 2-1. Millwall absolutely flying right now. On the Sportsman Title show we just did, me and Oli were potentially discussing if they could break into the top 2. Still a bit of a way to go, but if they can get something at the CBS, if they can beat Coventry, they are well in that conversation. Alex Neil's team beating Watford 2-0. Very, very good performance there. Ollie, I'm going to let you go first on this one. I've got an idea of what I'm going to say, but I'm not going to put it forward just yet. Give me a bit more thinking time.
Do you know what it is? I can't put into words how impressed I've been with Millwall. They have gone through this season with injury crisis. They came into the season after a really, really difficult summer. It didn't feel as though they were building a squad that was going to go on and compete. Nobody would predict that they would be where they are right now. And every single week, I predict them to drop off. These are one of the teams. I made a joke at the start that there are teams I can't get a read on. And I keep just assuming they're going to drop away. They're going to start losing games. They're going to drop in points. They're not going to be where they are. I don't want to do it again. I don't want to just write off Millwall and say, you know what? We're done. And I think it's an interesting time for Coventry because we talked a lot about the emotional ride that happened on Saturday. You're behind at half-time and everybody's feeling tense. All of a sudden, that chasing pack looks so close that they are breathing down your neck. To turn that around, get the victory is massive, but you've got to back it up. And I wonder just how draining that emotional ride is going to have been for Coventry. I'm backing a 1-1 here.
1-1. I've got back Cov, haven't I? I've gone for a 2-1. You can't back us to keep a clean sheet at any point. It doesn't seem this season. There was a lot off the bench against Leicester, which changed the game around. I'm hoping that kind of freshness and the pressure is slightly off now. We've beaten Leicester and kind of got back to winning ways. I will back us for another 2-1 win. Your favourite team to talk about in the Championship, Ollie? Hull City. What a team they are, by the way. Beat Southampton away from home. Yes, we know their underlying numbers are poor. Yes, they've got a lot of injuries as well, though. And they just keep winning games of football. They face Preston North End away from home. Preston, who we've already spoken about, lost at home to Derby. I'm back in Hull. And I know you probably don't want to, Ollie, but maybe you've got to try and start coming around to them. I'm going for a 2-1 Hull City win. They've got so many attackers that I like. Yeah, Carl Joseph, Oli McBurney, obviously. Liam Miller, I think, is a great winger as well. I think they've got enough to win games of football. They've got enough to finish in the top 6. I'm not sure they will, but there's enough there. I'm going for a 2-1 Hull win, mate.
Yeah, I can see it. And you know what? I owe all the Hull fans a massive apology. I owe the full players, the staff, the manager, the ownership. I should go to all of them individually, the strikers in particular. And I just keep, these are, I just said it about Millwall, but Hull all season I've been waiting for the drop, and I'm expecting it time and time and time again. And it's because you look at the performances, you look at the data. I don't watch Hull City every week. I won't pretend that I do. I'm not watching 90 minutes of Hull games and going, oh, yeah, hate watch time. It's not like that. But I look at the stats, for example, from the weekend. I think it's 0.6 XG for Hull, 2 goals, 2.9 XG for Southampton, 1 goal. That is not a game of football you should be winning regularly. And yet Hull seem to have done it all season. When I was checking the stats earlier, they've conceded more XG this season than Sheffield Wednesday have. That's the defensive numbers that Hull are putting out right now. And so it's hard for me to get my head around this idea that they're going to keep rolling on, keep picking up the results, keep picking up those performances, because it just feels unsustainable. However, it's 26 games they've played now. They're 4th. They win their game in hand. They are 3rd joint with Ipswich. At some point, you've got to put some respect on that name. At some point, you've got to give them the credit they deserve. Let's back another mental game, but a win for Hull, because that just seems to be what they do. I want my 5 points, 3-2 to Hull.
Wow. As I say, Hull fans, get in the comments down below, because Oli has doubted you all season. Can you finish in the playoffs? And will you beat Preston away, as we are both backing you to do? Swansea versus Blackburn. This should be fairly straightforward if Swansea are what I think they are, which is a very good home side. Vita Matas has made them really good at home. I was disappointed that they couldn't hold on to their 1-goal lead against Birmingham, and they drew that game, but still unbeaten in 5 or 6, I think, now in South Wales. Blackburn, unfortunately, quite poor, especially going forward. I think they've failed to score in 5 of their last 6 if we include the FA Cup game. Pretty straightforward home win for me. 1-0, probably a Zanvabotnik winner as well. What about you? Well, I presume you're not going to back Blackburn here.
No, I'm not. And it feels weird because Blackburn have picked up the majority of their points away from home. It's where they have been most effective in a lot of their performances. But it just feels like that little bit they had that was driving them on earlier in the season seems to have disappeared. We had that run where I think it was Good Johnson up front, just kept finding the back of the net. They kept just getting over the line, winning games of football, but it seems to have dried up so bad. We talked about that where they've not scored in the majority of their most recent games. That includes a 0-0 draw at Hillsborough. They didn't manage to score at Hillsborough, and that's when there really are alarm bells start to ring. And I think for me, you probably have to say you can't back them to score. So I'm going to say 2-0 to Swansea.
And talking of Hillsborough, Sheffield Wednesday host Birmingham. It looked like a game they might be able to get something out of when they were hosting Portsmouth. They didn't. They lost 1-0. We were talking, they are the worst championship team I think we've ever seen. I think they're going to fall way below Rotherham's points record of 23. Even when you take out the points deductions, this squad just isn't good enough. Birmingham are rubbish away from home. We know that. We've talked about it all season, and they're hamstrung by it. But this is a big, big win, I think, for Birmingham City. Not quite going to go for 5, but I will go for 4, and Birmingham to win 4-0 at Hillsborough, which I think is quite a good price. If you do fancy a flutter, I won't condone it or anything like that on here, but 4-0 Birmingham. Take a look at it. What about you, Oli?
Yeah, it's one of those where I've been talking to some of my friends in and around the office. Obviously, living in Sheffield, I see Wednesday fans all the time, and you don't even want to. Really, I don't want to make fun. You don't want to joke around because it just feels awful at the moment. I think it's 5 games since they last scored. It just is getting a little bit depressing through this part of the season. I think earlier in the season, they had bits to aim for. Now it feels like all of that fight, effort, will is just slowly being drained. I think you were going to come in though, Si.
I was just going to say the Wednesday fan and season ticket holder I was speaking to says they're actually getting worse, which is just miserable at this point. It's in the performances that they saw at the start of the season, and some of the away games are now disappearing as well. The football on the pitch is getting worse from a Wednesday point of view. I think it's going to be a real rough end to the season for them, unfortunately.
It is. And I think as well, the other side of that coin is very much that when you look at what was going on at the start of the season, they were sort of backs to the wall. Let's give the fans, let's give everybody something to rally around and come together. Since the departure of Chansiri, I think that's made the backs to the wall so much harder because it feels as though they've won that battle. They've won the war they needed to win this season. The most important part of the season, big tick in the box, is gone. It's over. But it's taking time to get through to what comes next. Obviously, it's missed January now. They're not going to be able to look at things like that. I know they've managed to get a couple of players through the door, but it does just feel as though right now, last week I thought they'd get a result against Portsmouth. I really felt as though that might be a game where they can turn the tide, but it does just feel as though it's getting worse and worse at the moment. I'm going to back them to get the goal that they've not had for so long. Hopefully that'll bring some respite. I'm going to go 4-1 to Birmingham in this one.
He wants the bonus points. He definitely wants the
I'm
bonus
desperate.
points. Wrexham versus Leicester. I've been a big Wrexham fan all season in terms of what they've been doing, and Phil Parkinson and what they've been doing at home especially. So disappointing that they lost that winning run at home to Norwich, but Norwich are a very good team. Leicester losing at Coventry, having gone 1 goal up, and so hit and miss, but certainly better at home again than they are away from home. I'm leaning towards Wrexham yet again, Ollie. I just think they can bounce back here. I think this will be a good game to watch. I'm leaning towards Wrexham, and I think I'm going to go for a 2-1 home win. Over to you.
The neutrals game, I think this one. I think this will be great to watch. I think usually if you get to watch games when Wrexham are at home, it is worth watching because they are another one where you can almost bet for goals sometimes because they're a lot of fun. I also, though, wonder, I think Ipswich, the performances they put in against the top teams in this division, when the cameras are on and when those individual players have their moments to shine, such as, the first half, particularly against Coventry at the weekend, I think that's where they really stand up. And I wonder if they'll look at this as another of these big games with the lights on. And so I think Leicester will turn up for this. I think it'll be a really good game. I'm going to back the 2-2. I do think that Leicester have got enough individual quality that it can hurt Wrexham. I think Wrexham are the better team. I think they've got the better squad ethos, but I don't know if that's going to play out on the night. So I'm going to say 2-2.
I think Jordan James is looking just like a wonderful midfielder this season as well,
player.
maybe going under the radar in the rest of the championship, but fantastic. Southampton, Sheffield United, here we go then. Tonder Eckert can't get anything going right now in terms of results. You mentioned the performances have been reasonably okay in terms of chance creation. 7 championship games without a win. Am I reading that right for Southampton? We're in one of these ruts again, and yet Chris Wilder comes to town and he's got 55 football shirts hung up in his dressing room now, and Charlton one's gone up on the wall after they've lost 1-0 there with 9 men. With 11 men on the pitch, I think Sheffield United will win this game. I think you have to back them. I'll hand over to you for the expert analysis, Ollie, but I'm going for a 2-1 away win.
Yeah, I am going to back the United win, but I wouldn't be strongly encouraging anybody to do anything with that information right now because there's 2 big questions in this United side for me. Centre half, obviously, if Tanganga's going to be suspended, it's been appealed. I don't know what the time frame is in terms of when we'll hear about that. But if Tanganga's suspended, that means that he's out. Tyler Bindon went off at half-time. That's both of our first choice centre-half partnership. That brings in Ben Mee and Mark McGuinness. When they play together, woohoo! It is not good. And so it's going to be really interesting how we look to build that defence to try and shield that. One of the key parts of shielding that sort of central defensive gap, shall we say, would be to put in your really strong defensive midfielder. Jairo Riedewald has turned around a lot of United's season. The way that he's played alongside Sidney Peck has been a central point of why we've been able to drive ourselves up the division. But Jairo Riedewald had a hamstring injury, couldn't play against Charlton at the weekend. His replacement, Jibril Samare, has definitely got a 3-game suspension, fully deserved. Let's not argue that one. And that leaves a big hole straight through the centre of United. When we last played against Southampton, I was really worried about what that midfield was going to do, whether or not they were going to really start to ball out and just dominate this midfield battle. And that's where this game's going to be won and lost. But given that I expect St Mary's to be quite a nasty place to play football at the moment for Southampton, I don't think it's going to be a very nice atmosphere. I don't think those fans are particularly enjoying what they're seeing at the moment. I think under Eckert, it's just completely fallen apart after that really exciting caretaker spell. I am going to back the away win. I'm hoping so because I'm making the journey. I'm not going to get home until about 4:30 in the morning. So we need to be celebrating a win. I'm going to go 2-1 to United as well.
Come on, Southampton, please. Just pull a last-minute winner out of anywhere just to see Ollie having to draw. I'll give you a ring, Ollie, at 3 a.m. just to see.
3 a.m, that'd be me just like, not quite home yet, guys.
At a service station somewhere on the M1. That's what I want. That is what I want. Right, Watford, Portsmouth, the penultimate game we're looking at. Millwall completely did a job on Watford at the weekend, as we've already discussed, but we like Watford. I like Watford. A lot of attacking talent. And this is a really favourable fixture in my eyes. Portsmouth, not great on the road. 2 wins out of 12 this season. And I fear for them a little bit in this game. So I'm definitely going to back Watford. I think it'll be quite a hefty home win. And for that reason, I'm going for a 3-0 Watford win. Ollie?
Yeah, straightforward for me. I think Watford are a very good side. I think obviously what happened at the weekend can happen to anybody. I said it earlier. Millwall are the acid test for any team that want to get promoted out of the Championship. They are always a difficult game, always going to make it hard for you. But Portsmouth, I don't see being that team, particularly on the road. 2-0 to Watford for me.
And we finished with a brilliant game. Stoke Middlesbrough, maybe saving the best till last here. But
Mm.
Borough on fire. Go on, mate. You go first on this one.
It's a difficult one to call for me. Again, I talked about that emotional drain that Coventry will be feeling as part of this automatic promotion race. Middlesbrough will have felt that so strongly at the weekend because, they have the emotional high of the 2-0 lead, the emotional low of throwing it away. Oh, we had a chance and now we're getting them the opportunity to pull away. The 90th minute winner and everybody's elated. You're then sat waiting and you're watching the Coventry performance where for 45 minutes you think, yeah, we've got them. We're going to catch them here. We've gone the run. Oh, no, wait a minute. They can turn it on. There's so much going on there in terms of psychology, the way they're going to be feeling. They will see this as a game where they need to go out and put down a marker. Stoke do not concede many goals at all. I can't believe that you take Victor out and they still don't concede any goals. I was giving him all the credit, so I don't know what's going on around that. But yeah, for me, I think ultimately this comes down to I think Middlesbrough are a better team than Stoke. And if I was doing that maths in my head, it tells me back the team who you have a lot of belief in right now. Middlesbrough have been creating chances, scoring goals for fun. I know they had that run where they had about 80 shots and no goals. They seem to have come out of the right side of that. I'll back them to create chances, to score goals, to win this game of football 2-0 again.
Stoke, no goals conceded in their last 4 games, I think, including the FA Cup game. Very good defence you alluded to. I've got my fingers crossed, obviously, from a commentary perspective, that Borough finally drop points and give us a bit of respite. So I am going to back a 1-1, more in hope than expectation, and go with my heart and really hope that Borough can drop points. But yeah, Kim Hellberg's team, some of the football they played at West Brom was just magnificent, wasn't it? Frightening stuff. Right, Ollie, we'll have to catch up again later in the week and see how we did with our midweek predictions. Will you have closed the gap some, eh? You need to.
Seems unlikely at this stage, let's be honest with ourselves, but I'm going to do my best. Always
if you want to play along, if you want to play along in the comments down below, please do join in and tot up your scores as well at the end. But see if you can beat Ollie, see if you can beat me. That's all for this episode of the Championship Prediction League, and we'll see you next time.